What happens when a woman of grace, intellect, and quiet intensity withdraws into her silence? When she no longer offers explanations, no longer soothes egos, and no longer participates in conversations where her voice is treated like background noise. This silence isn't coldness, it's sovereignty. It's the echo of a throne room within her soul where peace, power, and discernment rule. And when a feminine queen chooses to go silent, it doesn't create distance, it creates gravity. This isn't about ghosting, it's about spiritual self-preservation. Carl Jung said, "Solitude is not chosen, it is earned." And when a woman steps into her solitude, not as a punishment, but as a reclamation, she becomes a mirror to the masculine, reflecting his own shadows, wounds, and inner void. In this video, you'll discover 10 reasons why her silence is not weakness. It's the roar of her inner queen. Each point is infused with depth psychology, stoic wisdom, and sovereign feminine strength. By the end, you'll understand exactly why her silence sends shockwaves through every room she's left behind. 1. Her silence is a mirror, not a wall. When a feminine queen withdraws, it isn't because she's hiding, it's because she's revealing. Silence is one of the most powerful psychological mirrors. It forces others to confront what they projected onto her presence. Suddenly, they are left alone with the very expectations, assumptions, and entitlements they cloaked her with. In her silence, he can no longer avoid the truth of how he showed up, because there's no longer a distraction. Her silence is not the absence of care, it's the presence of sacred discernment. When she goes silent, it invites reflection, not rejection. If a man truly values her, the silence won't repel him, it will awaken him. If he was only interested in what she gave, her silence becomes a boundary he cannot cross. In this way, she doesn't need to defend herself. Her silence does it for her. 2. Her silence reclaims energetic sovereignty. Every conversation is an energy exchange. When she chooses silence, she's choosing to stop spending her emotional currency on people who cannot afford to value it. This isn't passive aggression, it's energetic precision. She understands that not everyone deserves her softness, her words, or her emotional labor. By withdrawing, she returns her energy to herself, no longer leaking it through unnecessary dialogues. Her silence isn't void, it's voltage. The act of going quiet electrifies her presence. She becomes felt, not just heard. People notice not just her absence, but what their world becomes without her warmth. And in that vacuum, her value crystallizes, not in what she does, but in who she is when she says absolutely nothing. 3. She moves from reaction to intention. Silence is not submission, it's strategic redirection. The feminine queen knows that words spoken in reaction feed chaos, while silence feeds clarity. She no longer reacts to disrespect, chaos, or confusion. She waits, observes, realigns, and then speaks with intention, not emotion. This space she creates through silence becomes the soil for inner truth to rise. Instead of throwing words into the fire of misunderstanding, she lets the fire burn itself out. And when she chooses to speak again, her voice becomes undeniable, because it's born from conscious choice, not emotional reactivity. 4. She awakens the archetypal hunt in the masculine. When she withdraws, she activates an ancient dance encoded deep in masculine psychology, the pursuit of value. In Jungian terms, she becomes the anima withdrawn, the inner feminine energy the masculine chases in dreams and mythology. Her silence isn't abandonment, it's the call to rise, to seek, to evolve. The man who has emotional maturity will feel her silence not as a wound, but as a summons. It will challenge him to deepen, to examine the way he approaches connection. Was he entitled, distracted, careless? Her silence asks that question without ever speaking it, and only the ones ready for true intimacy will dare to answer it. 5. She shifts the dynamic from external validation to inner knowing. When she stops explaining herself, she stops seeking approval. The silence becomes an announcement. I no longer need to be understood to be real. She refuses to be the translator of her own worth. The absence of justification is in itself the presence of inner knowing. This shift is terrifying to those who once relied on her people-pleasing. Her silence becomes an exit from the roles others cast her in. She is no longer the emotional caretaker, the fixer, or the listener of complaints. Now she listens only to her inner guidance, and that, more than any loud declaration, reorders the entire field around her. All right, feminine queens, thank you for being the heart of this incredible community. We wouldn't be here without your likes, comments, and shares. Keep that powerful energy flowing, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and share. I'll love you forever for it. 6. She stops bleeding for people who won't even scratch for her. Her silence signals the end of emotional charity. She realizes that love isn't measured by how much pain she tolerates, but by how much peace she protects. She used to explain herself to those committed to misunderstanding her. Now, she lets the misunderstanding stand, because her peace matters more than being right. This silence is not cruel, it's clean. It's a spiritual surgery that cuts away one-sided dynamics. The conversations where she used to overextend herself have gone quiet, not because she no longer cares, but because she finally understands. Anyone who truly sees her won't need 1,000 words to get it. They'll feel her soul, even in her silence. 7. She returns to her throne of observation. The queen observes before she speaks. She studies the energy of a room before she enters. And when things go out of alignment, she doesn't plead, she pauses. Her silence is the calm before a recalibration. She doesn't storm out, she disappears into her own world, where the rules are hers to write. From this throne of observation she sees who notices her absence, who reaches out, who shifts. She doesn't demand attention, she receives it by becoming still. The lesson is clear. Her presence was never ordinary. It was medicine. And when she removes it, the world aches. 8. She creates space for her own becoming. Silence is fertile soil for transformation. When the world grows too loud, a feminine queen turns inward, not to escape, but to evolve. In the quiet, she listens to the whispers of her own soul. The versions of herself she's outgrown fade away. A deeper woman emerges. This process cannot be rushed. Her silence is the chrysalis phase, where she dissolves the performative masks and reconstructs herself in truth. Those who loved the old version of her may panic at her silence. But the new version won't explain herself. She'll simply arrive, elevated, radiant, sovereign. 9. She lets the unworthy fall away. Silence is the ultimate filter. It shows her who comes close without noise, who respects the pause, who values her essence over access. When she no longer pours herself out, she sees who can sit with the quiet and still hold presence with her. The ones who can't. They fall away, not by force, but by design. Her silence is not a punishment. It's a purification, a way to let the inauthentic connections collapse under their own weight. The people who only loved her performance vanish, the ones who love her presence remain. In silence, she learns the difference between attachment and alignment. 10. She becomes the source, not the seeker. At last she no longer seeks answers, validation, or rescue from the world outside. In her silence she realizes, I am the source. The peace, the joy, the strength, it was never out there. It was always within. And when she goes silent, it is not to retreat. It is to remember who she is. From this place she emerges not louder but brighter. not demanding but divine. She speaks now with the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths, and the world leans in, not because she shouted, but because she stopped speaking and still said everything. Her silence is not absence, it is arrival. It's the moment a woman remembers she is not a guest in her own soul, but the sovereign ruler of it. The world may not understand her silence. It may even fear it, but it will never forget it. If you've ever been that woman, the one who withdrew not in weakness but in wisdom, know this: you didn't lose them, you found you. Subscribe to Feminine Queen if you're ready to reclaim your peace, your presence and your power, not by making noise, but by becoming the kind of silence that changes everything.